So are you thinking of moving from California to Seattle or vice versa? Before we dive in, a little bit about me. So I'm a local realtor here in the area between Seattle and Olympia. Cover anywhere in between that and South Sound. I originally was in the military here at Joint Base Lewis McChord and transitioned out, but I also am a California native. So I know both areas like the back of my hand, I like to think. And I do think that I have some pretty good insights on what would help you make a decision of moving up to Seattle or staying down in California. So if you enjoy this video, do us a favor, comment below, subscribe, and reach out if you're interested in moving up here or have any other questions. Feel free to text, call, email, anywhere on social media. You can find me and just let me know and we'll be in touch. All right, so we're gonna have about 5 topics here that I want to cover that have the differences and similarities between Seattle and California, right? All right, so the first big category that I think everyone wants to talk about between LA, between California and Seattle area is traffic, right? Like, is it any better up here as opposed to down here? And I personally say yes, but obviously with a caveat, right? So up here in Seattle, Tacoma, and Olympia areas, you really only have 2 main highways that take you north-south, and then you have to deal with geography. You have to deal with the water on one side, the mountains on the other, and you got to deal with Joint Base Lewis McChord, which is one of the biggest joint bases too in the world, that kind of make you, that force you to take only 1 or 2, highways. So that's the main difference up here that causes, I guess, bottlenecking in traffic is there's just not that many ways to get around if you're trying to not take streets, obviously. Whereas LA, you got a lot more highways, a lot more, I guess, different ways to get to places. But at the end of the day, it's still more populated, it's still more crazy. Honestly, people down there drive more crazy. And I think that's why it just causes just a lot more hectic traffic down in LA. So overall, the traffic is a little better up here. It's a little more predictable, aside from rain and weather conditions permitting, but you do still have your traffic. You do, and there could be some decent backups. So, but like I said, I'm a California native, so like, I've been through LA traffic, so any other traffic to me doesn't always seem that bad. All right, second topic is obviously the weather change and what is the big difference besides obviously the rain, right? So pros and cons, right? What do you want? So I know a lot of people down in LA that get sick of the heat. I got family that just hate it too, right? So you come up here, you do have all 4 seasons. It's just a cooler climate. It's drier too, it's not humid like down in the south. But at the same time, you don't get as much sunshine. You obviously are colder. So like if you can't deal with the cold, like, hey, think about it again. It is a change. And then yes, it's wet. It does rain a lot. Probably not as much as people really think. But yeah, it does rain a lot. You get the snow too in the wintertime. But I do think the biggest difference from California to Washington to Seattle area, right, is that sunshine. So with the rain up here comes obviously the clouds and the gloominess, right? So that is the #1 difference that I think from LA to up here would be, is not seeing that much sunshine. So me personally, I kind of was brushing it to the side, like, yeah, I think I'm just kind of out of it, or I'm kind of just not as, maybe I didn't get as much rest or something. When I did realize, hey, I'm actually used to a lot more sun, and it does make a difference to like your just personal day-to-day on how you're feeling. So that is a big factor, where if you got to take into consideration like the other, whether you're talking about your mental health, whether you're talking about physical health with the vitamins that you're getting from sunlight, it does make a difference when you're up here. So third topic, and kind of going off of the weather, right, is air conditioning and just, I guess, the home layouts and the neighborhood layouts. So I say air conditioning first because I do get it time and time again where we have out-of-state buyers coming here and they are shocked that roughly maybe like 60 to 70% of these homes don't have air conditioning. Reason for that is obviously Aside from the summer months, you really don't need it up here. So right now in November, up here in Washington, it's literally like 40s and low 50s. You just open up you crack the window and you're good to go, right? You're really cold and you actually would rather be hotter in your house. So yeah, that is a big difference is seeing when you're looking at homes. If you really want that comfort, make sure you're finding homes with air conditioning, or have a plan / budget to put that air conditioning in right after you buy the home. And then what I noticed too is actually around here, the terrain / just kind of the layouts of the streets are a lot more just like fluid, and they go with just how the land is. Whereas down in LA, with it being more flat and whatnot, it's a lot more grid type neighborhoods. Sometimes around here, like I've gotten confused with addresses. I've gotten confused with like where a road might take me, because it's going around like a little lake that you don't even see because it's behind homes, and you don't see it until you literally are looking at a map. I'm like, that is why this took me all the way around this weird, and that is why it took me all around this weird way, and now I'm here, right? So where in LA, it's definitely more just like, yeah, A to B, I can kind of figure out if I go on this main road that it's just gonna take me straight this way or straight that way. It's definitely a big difference here. So this might be my favorite topic, right? We're talking about food. So I like to eat, and I'm like, I know you're laughing at me right now, but I was like, I like to eat, and I'm like, what can I eat here, right? Like, what am I gonna get? What can I grub on when I'm up here versus down in LA? So like, both areas are very diverse. Both areas are, you wanna call like I'm like melting pot, that's what it is. So both areas are really diverse. Both areas are, if you wanna call them melting pots, right? So like, but just a little bit more emphasis on like, I guess that underlying, like what's the main one still. So like up here, Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, right? You get a lot more Pacific food, a lot more like sushi, teriyaki, seafood, a lot more good tasting of that. And that's like a lot more like the main dishes. Whereas down in LA, obviously you got a lot more Mexican food. That's kind of like that underlying base, right? And then culture-wise, I mean, there's similarities because we're both West Coast cities, right? But there's still a lot of differences too. I mean, you're growing up just in different climates and different everything, right? So like, either way though, I mean, I haven't gone hungry. I find some stuff that I like to eat all the time. And like, if you like to try new foods, obviously up here in the Seattle area is great. People are coming up with new things to make every day. And hey, get some coffee too. There's literally so much coffee around here. And if you like coffee, like, they take it very seriously. So don't be afraid to come up here, try new things. It's good for you. So last but not least, right? So the scenery differences between the LA region and the Seattle region. So up here, I was like shocked about just like how many trees there were, the greenery, like obviously the water's on one side, which you get that in LA too with the beach, right? But it's not like that close running through like the downtown area, right? So like downtown Seattle, you have the water right there running through. You got the boats on one side and you got the Space Needle on the other. Tacoma, same thing, you got the port. And then in Olympia, the same thing. You have the Capitol that's sitting right there on the base. So like, all these cities are right there next to the water, whereas in LA, like, you're still obviously more inland. The mountains too, right? So you got mountains on both sides. You got LA mountains. I forget what mountain range that is, but you go up there and you can go up to your cabin, to the lake houses and all that too. Here it's similar, but honestly, it's just magnified. Like Mount Rainier is gorgeous. It's huge. You see it like from a mile away, miles away, and like the the breath of fresh air you can get up here is a little bit different, I'll be honest with you, than down there. And then obviously, like, it creates more diverse landscapes up here. And then being closer to Canada too, like, you have just, it like only gets crazier, I guess, the more you get up there when it comes to the landscapes and the scenery. That's a huge difference. Oh, Eastern Washington. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah. And then you just go right over the Snoqualmie Pass. So a couple hours east and you go to Eastern Washington, it's a completely different state. It's really flat, a lot of agriculture, a lot of farmland, a lot of, honestly, it's hotter too in the summer, like a lot more desert. So like LA, think of it like going down to Palm Springs, right? So you drive down like another hour and a half and it's just all desert down in Palm Springs, right? People going to Coachella, partying it up down there or whatever. I think they have festivals here actually in Eastern Washington too, right? That's kind of like that same vibe of, okay, I'm gonna just leave this part and go to a different experience. Hey, and bonus topic, bonus category, cost of living, right? So there's really not too much to talk other than California is always gonna beat us up here for cost of living, which is, I guess, a good thing for us up here, but we're not too far behind. So, like, my mom still lives in LA, right? I'll literally talk to her every other day, every day, and like, of course it comes up like, oh, what are you paying for gas? Like, and she'll say $6. Like, oh, well, I'm paying like $4.50. You know what I mean? So like, I know because I'm actually talking to my mom a lot, and we're talking about like, she'll come up here and visit us, and she'll be like, oh, these groceries are cheaper. It's just, we're just slightly behind, right? Now we're still more expensive than a lot of the US, but I do know for a fact that from personal experience, like, it is a little cheaper up here. So if you do want your dollar to go a little further, it would help being up here. Thanks again for watching my video. Again, I'm a local realtor here between Tacoma, Olympia, Seattle. If you have any questions, if you're searching in the area, feel free to reach out on my email, text, calling, social media, and subscribe and hit the like button below. And yeah, thank you.